Most people think that discipline starts with their habits, but for me, it started with my emotions. I was fresh out of divorce, and my pastor's wife said something that has stuck with me to this day. She said, most women, they get bitter. And the man, he gets better. And in that moment, I decided I was not going to be a statistic. I made a conscious decision that I was going to go all in on not being bitter. But deciding not to be bitter meant that I had to do something that I didn't want to do. I had to face my emotions. And if I'm being real, I didn't know how to do that at first. I tried to act like they weren't there. I tried to numb them with busyness, with food, and with distraction. But the more that I stuffed them, the worse that I feel like they were getting. That's when I realized something. Discipline doesn't start with controlling what is on the outside. It starts with controlling what's inside of you. And most people get the discipline thing wrong because they treat it like a mood. They think if I'm motivated, then I'll do it. How many of us have said that? And then when I don't feel motivated, then I won't. But discipline is not a mood. Discipline is a muscle. Catch that. And see, here's the problem. Most of us are trying to lift weights with a muscle that we have never trained. We want to control our eating, but we have never built the muscle of emotional honesty. We want to start waking up 5 a.m., but we've never built the muscle of consistency in prayer. We want to run marathons. We want to start a business. We want to lead ministries, but we haven't trained with the basics. So then what happens? We pick up the heaviest weight on the rack. We try to carry things too big for where we are. And then we get embarrassed when we can't hold it. Pride tells us, don't go back to the baby weights. And eventually we just quit. But here's the truth. Nobody walks into the gym and goes with the heaviest weights on the first day. You start small. You train the muscle. You build it rep by rep. And eventually the weight that once felt impossible feels lighter. And you know what else? The Bible backs this up, because if you think about 1 Corinthians 9:27, Paul says, I discipline my body and I keep it under control. Least after I preach to others, I myself might be disqualified. He didn't say he waited for the mood. He didn't say that he relied on motivation. He said he disciplined himself. He trained himself. So I'm here to tell you that discipline is not a vibe. It is not a feeling. It is not a burst of motivation. Discipline is training. And training means unlearning one way while learning the other. That's why it feels so awkward. That's why it feels like you're losing before you win. But that is the only way you're gonna grow. Let's go back to my story. When I chose not to be bitter, I thought that I had made that decision once and for all. You see, bitterness, it doesn't just leave because you say that you don't want it. It doesn't follow instructions. It has to be unlearned. Every time I discipline myself to forgive, intentionally forgive, I had to unlearn resentment. And you don't forgive just one time. It's a continual process as things reveal themselves. Every time I discipline myself to pray instead of gossip, I had to unlearn complaining. Every time I discipline myself to process my feelings, my emotions with God, I had to unlearn the habit of stuffing them away with food and numbing myself. And you see, that is the part that nobody talks about. Because when you start building discipline, you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. The new habit feels awkward. The old habit feels natural. So you face what I call the change valley. Think about Israel in the wilderness. God delivered them from Egypt, but Egypt wasn't out of them. They had learned slavery. They had learned to be in survival mode. They had learned to depend on Pharaoh's provision. So when God brought them into freedom, into his promises, into what the unknown, they panicked. And in Numbers 14:3, it says, why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? They wanted to retreat. Why? Because the new felt strange and the old felt comfortable. And that is exactly what happens to us. We start reading the word daily, but it feels awkward. We start eating in a new rhythm, but that feels foreign. We start practicing self-control, but it feels heavy. The new habit feels weak. The old habit feels strong. And in that tension, in that valley, we're tempted to retreat, to go back to Egypt. Hebrews 12:11, that's one of my favorite. It says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time. Later on, however, it produces a It produces a harvest of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. Discipline is training. Training means soreness. Training means repetition. Training means pushing through the awkwardness until the new becomes natural. Think about it. When you are building your muscle, you feel shaky. You feel like you want to throw up if you lifting heavy enough. Like you feel so uncomfortable. But you know that beneath the surface, there are things working for your good. And so the valley of change, where those things are taking place at the same time, is not proof that you're failing. It is actually proof that you are being retrained. And if you don't understand that, you're going to keep quitting right before it's about to take root. That transformation, you literally on the brink of your breakthrough, but you quit just before you can actually see it. So how do you actually build discipline like it's a muscle? Let me give you a framework, okay? The first thing I want you to do is I want you to see discipline as training, not trying. I don't even like the word trying because trying just means that you're giving yourself an out. Trying says, I'm going to see if this works. Training says, I am committed to the reps. There's a difference, right? Stop trying and start training. Number 2, I want you to start small and not heavy. Pride will convince you to start big so that you look like you're serious. But Jesus said in Luke 16:10, whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted with much. If you can't handle small reps, you will never sustain the heavy ones. I think it was Atomic Habits or Compound Effect. You got to start with little things to build your muscle. Okay. Now, number 3, I need you to start expecting the change valley. We talked about it. Those two things are happening at the same time. The old feels comfortable and natural and warm and fuzzy, like you got a fire lit and you can go back and cuddle up. And the new feels awkward and this is uncomfortable, it's cold, it's weird, it's rainy, it's dreary, right? So you have to have the perspective and know that it's coming. Bring a rain jacket. You don't want to be shocked when it feels worse before it feels better. That is how your muscles grow. That is how your faith grows. That is how new habits are formed. Don't retreat to Egypt. Press forward. And then number 4, I want you to remember that discipline is learning and unlearning. Nobody talks about this. We always want to talk about the new habits that we're building, but we have to understand the new habits that we're building, what we're saying yes to, we're learning to say no to the other things, right? And so if you're learning forgiveness, you're also unlearning bitterness. If you're learning consistency, you're unlearning avoidance. If you're learning self-control, you're unlearning indulgence. But both are happening at the same time. And this is number 5. It's just a bonus. I need you to focus on who you're becoming. Every rep of discipline is shaping you into the woman God already sees you as. Philippians 3:14 says, I press towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Discipline means pressing on. So let me ask you this. Are you treating discipline like a mood or are you treating it like a muscle? Because your destiny will not wait for your motivation. Your calling will not wait for you to feel like it, okay? Your freedom won't wait for you to be in the mood. It will only meet you on the other side of your training. And if you're ready to go deeper, I want to personally invite you to a masterclass on September 21st. I'm teaching the 3 secret appetites that are quietly driving your choices, your cravings, and your habits. You have felt them, I promise, but you've never named them. And once you do, you will never see your struggles the same way ever again. This isn't about another diet. It's not about hype. It's not about willpower. It is about your wisdom, okay? It's about training your spirit, your mind, and your body in the direction that God is calling you. So click the link, save your spot, and let's start building this muscle of discipline the right way. I'll catch you in the next one.